Rod Hayes. Listen, my brother. You know what? I've been wanting to talk about this, but I seen something on YouTube from the History Channel talking about Antarctica and the Nazis, and I'm like, damn, I gotta get somebody. And I was like, didn't Rod Hayes say something about Antarctica? And I just been hearing about the ice walls and these ice giants, and that lead into other dimensions, and the Earth it's never ending. And after that, you go to a planet. I mean, all types of stuff, brother. And I don't want to go down the rabbit hole of stuff. I want you to break it down, my brother. But talk to us. Let's start out, brother. What can you tell me about the ice wall, Antarctica, and what's going on with that? Is the ice melting? Are we going to be exposed to another world, another Earth?
A lot of it is melting.
A lot of it's melting.
Right? Just like they just had a major ice shelf fall into the ocean. Most of us not paying attention. And if that ice shelf melts, it's massive. So it might not be noticeable immediately, but it'll raise water levels because water is denser when it's wet than it is when it's frozen.
Hey Rod, I'm getting static when you talk. Did you do something different? Because before we went live, I didn't hear that. Is there?
I, I didn't do nothing.
Yeah. Hold up. Yeah, his connection sounds sharp. Yeah, I know.
You want me to go out and come back
Yeah,
in?
yeah, let's do that. Let's try that. Yeah. Yeah, right.
How is it now?
Perfect. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Yeah. Where was we at? We was on
Talking about they was melting, I think, right?
right. So that ice shelf melting. Now this is a side effect because you're gonna have these um solar flares is coming in now. And this is gonna raise the temperature of the planet. This is what we call going into the sun cycle.
Mm.
Right. So every 24,000 years, you got two moon cycles and two sun cycles. They separate each other like fan blades. Right? So now we going into the sun cycle, everything heats up. So they try to tell the public that it's global warming because they want the public to be in a state of panic so they can keep them under control.
Mm.
Right? So global warming, oh, it's going to doomsday, it's going to kill us all. Boo, boo. Right? All the time, it's natural to the planet to go through seasonal cycles, just like the Earth go through annual cycles. So we in cycles within cycles,
Mm.
right? So when you get to the planet itself, um, this is where we get um, the dimensional separation from. Because when you're on a physical planet, you have to perpetually create the physical world. When they tell you that we in the matrix, right? It's a mind matrix.
Mm-hmm.
You got a army of creator beings using the power of their mind to manifest 3D reality. They call them the Titans,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So with the power of their mind, collectively they created the 3D matrix.
Mm-hmm.
But in the process of thought to create the 3D matrix, you had to assemble it from sound waves to particles into building blocks of particles,
Mm-hmm.
right? So they had to think all that stuff into existence. And this is what creates the universal Akashic record because everything they thought, we have access to it when we raise our vibration high enough. We can see what they thought. This is why they say the gods come to earth in human form.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So we once we can see from the God form of the mind, then we can't be deceived because we know who we are. Right? So when you get to the 3D matrix, it work on a set of laws. Now when you look at Earth, Earth is like the a egg,
Mm-hmm.
right? The planet is the yolk, the atmosphere is the albumin, and the light barrier is the shell, right? So you got the fat part of the egg and the skinny part of the egg. Most eggs is made like a teardrop.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the Earth moving in its orbit generates a tailwind like a egg shape.
Okay.
All right. Now, from this tailwind, it has to open up the future in front of you as it moves through the mind matrix that we call outer space.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So while we doing this, effects are happening that we can see materializing in the 3D world.
Mm-hmm.
Now, something happened with the Anunnaki Wars where the Earth uh, had a collision that knocked it partially out of its orbit. So the yolk broke through the egg, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it broke through, the albumin, which is the liquid around the Earth, splashed, right? But because outside of the upper atmosphere is cold, it's caused a flash freeze. Now
Mm-hmm.
you have what they call a wall, an ice wall.
Mm. Shit.
Now, after the fact, the Earth has to reestablish itself within its own atmospheric pressure range. When
Mm-hmm.
this happens, it meaning the yolk has to go back to the center of the egg where it belonged after the collision.
Mm-hmm.
So the ice wall becomes the splash that froze over in the flash freeze, and because of its position, the Earth shields it with cold that keeps it frozen.
Right.
Right? So now we got an ice wall.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what was there before it was an ice wall?
Mm-hmm.
So we talk about the Tartarian Empire. Tartarus was the name of the desert that they talk about in the book of Enoch. Tartarus is the landmass that we call Antarctica now before it froze over, right? And before it froze over, it was an Atlantean major bustling community that was big as hell. So this is what Hitler had to discover. He went to Tibet. He sent a guy named Otto Warburg
Mm-hmm.
to go over there and get occult information. There was a couple more too. A guy named Rubles and one of his main generals was allocated to go and collect the occult information from the monks. So this is what World War II was concealing
Mm.
because they had overt warfare and then they had covert warfare. The covert warfare, they was using espionage, spies, and everything to fight that war. Operation Paperclip is how the Roman nations did business. When they conquer somebody or when they get conquered, they don't go in as victors, they go in as agents of the state that's already there. They put their people in places of power in order to hold their own power in these key places. So um, Hitler's army ended up discovering where the capital Tartarian desert was, which was in Antarctica, but it was covered with ice. But it's the coldest desert in the world,
Mm.
right? So this is all documented in science. Now we just had to match up uh the landmarks. All of the landmarks in Antarctica match up to the Book of Enoch's Tartarus.
Mm.
And Tartarus is where they bound Marduk for 1,000 years. Right? And Marduk was Enlil's son, who he sent out to conquer the world for him,
Mm-hmm.
but he didn't work, right? Because they had already had, um, it's like your favorite cousin, right? Your favorite cousin, daddy, send him to take over send you to take over his house. And when he get there, y'all start hanging out, being cool and shit.
Right, right, right.
You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? We out here chasing the honeys together, smoking. We ain't thinking about what Pops and them talking about. We ain't got nothing to do with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So Marduk was the one to tell you whatever this motherfucker say, listen to him, because that's who they sent to come and clean this shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So this is why they all had to go down to Antarctica, because once the Nazis set up camp, they reached contact with people from Nibiru,
Mm-hmm.
and this was all by Galactic Council. So Earth has its own council,
Mm-hmm.
the Earth Council,
Mm-hmm.
of spirit beings that protect the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They call them nature spirits, but they take human form from time to time, but they're not always in human form. If they ever become aware that they took on a human form, they can still tap into the energy of the element that they related to. This is why you have people with psychic abilities that's different, because some is using water, which means spirit, so they getting it intuitively, where other ones is using the air, thought, that mean they putting it together logically,
Mm-hmm.
right? But we don't know how to use them to read one off the other in order to see clearer the picture, right? But the more we start looking at things, the more we start seeing, recognizing the patterns. Once you start recognizing the pattern, in order to break the cycle, you interrupt the pattern. So that's why they did everything is based on Pavlovian response, Skinner box conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that keep us in the perpetual loop. And then we develop a complacency called learned helplessness in the loop that we ain't gonna never get out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And this how we be caught in the same bullsmack for 3, 4 generations in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Cause don't nobody want to be the one to step out on the limb and say, let's change something, see what happens,
Right, right.
right? So, do you remember a movie called Boys from Brazil?
No, I don't remember that one. No.
So it's about Adolf Hitler moving to Argentina and setting up a cloning shop to clone the boys from Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and it's supposed to be Hitler in a paradoxical reality, right? A sideline, another timeline, what if factor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the details is too intricate not to have some validity to them, because the movie came out based on the conspiracy theory.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to give you the opportunity to discover everything they doing. So they use public information, movies and entertainment to tell you what they doing as if they not doing it, and it was all just a big fabrication.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the way that the Akashic records push information out,
Mm-hmm.
through the arts. So when they make the movie, he thought he was telling you a story, a fairy tale. But
Mm-hmm.
the Akashic records say that's what happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you will learn to read it because it'll have an air of familiarity to you, because most of that stuff is based on historical events with us. X-Men is all about the Pharaoh's house in Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
having the X gene, meaning the mother right to rule, given the power from the motherland.
Mm-hmm.
That's the X. But they men. They mama's boys. And who is mama's boys? Masons.
My sons. You connecting the dots, man. Shit, you
Right.
connected some dots. Go ahead, brother.
So now mama's boys wake up from a slumber and mama house is not in order.
mm,
What you gonna do if you get home and your siblings got motherfuckers clowning all in your house, stripping naked, and you know your parents is on their way home soon? What you gonna do? You start throwing motherfuckers out, ain't you?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Cleaning up.
Mm,
Get this house clean. Hey, whip in shape. Get it together. This is where we at.
yeah.
Right? Now, while the house is getting clean, it still look just as chaotic as the party was.
Mm,
But they cleaning house.
mm,
So the chaos appears to play out under the cleaning program off the party program. Because a party has been pooped. And what we seeing now is the cleanup. The Hunter
mm.
Biden laptop is the straw to break the bull's back. That's the one right there. Domino to make all of the rest of the dominoes fall.
You said Hunter Biden.
Yep.
What was on that laptop?
Everything.
Mm,
He got all his business deals with the pharmaceutical companies and deep state actors in Ukraine and business deals on his emails with that, they implicate his father, the
mm,
president, and it also implicate the business associations with certain people that was associated with the Clintons overseas,
mm,
right? Which is going to make them in turn have to bring out the Podesta file, his laptop with the frazzle drip on it,
mm,
right? So it's a chain reaction. It's a rollout,
mm,
right? So they had to start by something had to spark the flame. All they trying to do is get the people to see the deception.
mm,
But the deception gonna continue to play until enough people see through the deception.
mm.
And then that's when the walls of Jericho come tumbling down.
What's the walls of Jericho? The ice walls? You mean?
It's the artificial construct.
Okay.
It ain't really there,
Mm,
but they told you it was,
mm,
right? They ain't really supposed to be on our land, but they told you that what they was.
mm,
We ain't never not been at war with them, but they told you the war was over.
mm,
But they still continuously treat us as if we at war,
mm,
right? They Supreme Court basically back in the 1800s put a eternal hit out on any of us that they kill,
mm,
right? Because it said that we don't have no right to life. We the enemy,
mm,
right? So we not even realizing that the squatters on the land call themselves the United States. It's the corporate United States of America legal fiction.
mm,
And that's what it is. It's the fiction.
mm,
So they tell you in all of the fairy tales little pieces of the story for you to put it all together,
mm,
right? And that's what the boule do.
mm,
The boule job is to find out what's going on in secret and put it out in the public so the king can see what's being done on the land
mm,
without having to disrupt the day-to-day lives of the regular people,
mm,
right? Let them go on about their life and we just get rid of all of the dirty players.
mm,
So this is what we seeing play out in media now.
mm. Why do you think we're hearing more talk right now in this time period? Like I said, I just seen the History Channel YouTube. They was talking about Antarctica. I'm hearing. So why are we hearing so much about Antarctica right now? Like, what's beyond the wall? Is there another continent? Is that when you
It's a
get to the other
landmass
planets?
under the it's a landmass under the ice.
What
It's
do
a
you mean?
city under the ice,
Mm-hmm,
right? But the city was frozen. It was
mm-hmm,
flash frozen. Anything when they flash freeze a human, they can use the cryogenics to thaw them out.
mm-hmm,
They can use the same process as cryo. And any one of those Atlanteans, they wake up. That's it. There's not nobody walking around in physical form right now that can fuck with them on the psychic mental ability alone. They psychic powers, they can make you just fall down at their feet.
So you saying our ancestors is currently flash frozen in Antarctica?
They thawed some of them out, and then that's where they fucked up at.
Who they thought out?
I'm not sure exactly which ones it was.
So where are the ones they thought out? Where are they now? Because you
They
said they.
down there. They live down there like we live up here,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And they working on uh thawing out more of the ancestors. Well, they not really our ancestors. They was contemporaries of ancestors that we had at that time.
Mm-hmm.
When they got flash froze, they bloodline stopped right there.
Okay.
They
Okay.
can't regenerate,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, but our ancestors that was from Atlantis, right, that's been continuously reproducing, we don't look the same no more.
Mm-hmm.
We've changed due to changes in the conditions around us.
Mm-hmm.
Compels us to have to adapt to the conditions or perish,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're not understanding that the whole physical construct, the body is a machine.
Mm-hmm.
The machine is programmed to adapt to all circumstances and conditions in the environment at the DNA level. So when you produce your child with whoever you produce your child with, the DNA will align to produce what's going to be needed in 30 years versus what you got right now. Your son might look just like you, but the life that he lived is going to require him to function differently. So therefore, he can't be exactly like you, but he can be pretty goddamn close, right?
Yeah.
So what you doing is your job now. Okay, let me make sure my son know how to conduct all of these types of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you?
Yeah, that's me. My fault. That's me. You thought that was you, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm
me.
like,
Go
what
ahead,
I
brother.
do?
Let
What
me
I
press
do?
mute while you talk. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't teach your son um everything the same way you was taught because you learn from how you was taught what work and what don't. And for us to do better than our parents, then we should raise our children to do better than us. So we had to teach them certain things, instill certain values in them, and then expose them to life lessons that they can understand. You got to explain this shit to them. They just don't understand because you want them to. You have to break it down to them in bites and tell them how it works. And they smarter than we give them credit for.
Let me read and pardon the noise right now, family, that's going on upstairs. Let me read a response. When I posted that you was gonna come on the YouTube, I got an interesting comment. This is from somebody named Jay Elegant, and I want to get your opinion on this. Jay Elegant said, when I said what's beyond the ice walls in Antarctica, Jay Elegant said more land, an entire continent, and then an electromagnetic field, ozone beyond which is the next dimension where their sun is what we see as Mars. So when they talk of going to Mars, they mean getting past the field into the other lands, but they can't penetrate the field. Hence why rockets have those spears on their nose, despite their best efforts. On Antarctica itself is an entire lush continent of rivers, lakes, pyramids, and animals. That's an interesting comment. They said the sun, their sun is what we see as Mars. I mean, just the whole comment. What do you think about that comment right there, Rod?
I find it pretty fascinating. This reality that we in is operating on what they call the observer effect. Every time you have a closing of an age, every paradigm has to be challenged. If anybody can perceive it in their mind, and that's a reality until they all find a common ground in order to produce the reality we gonna see next. So I can't tell you, he might be wrong from my perspective, but from his perspective, he explains it clear enough, coherently enough, where he doesn't sound insane at all. Right now, the from what I know is different is because from a different angle of creation, my perception can't be the same as his. Right? We had to have, in order to challenge paradigms, to continue creation, moving in a progressive manner. Right? Remember, we program to always advance on what we have. That's in our DNA. That's why we continuously changing our music. We didn't change music in the 60s and 70s as fast as we change it now. You had one song to stay on the chart for 5 years. You don't get that no more. There's so much music out now that certain people can't stay on the charts for 2 weeks. They might peak out at 3 or 4 and still can't stay on the top 100 for 2 weeks. That's how much music it is. So, and it's all because the collective is moving in a progressive, what we call perpetual forward motion.
Indeed, indeed, brother, indeed. So what about the inner earth? Is there any entrances to the inner earth from
All over.
Antarctica?
Yeah, Antarctica is one of the biggest interests. The Arctic up north and Antarctica both have gaping holes. The one in Antarctica is right around the area of what they call the ice wall. But
Hmm.
the ice wall is a circle. It's like a splash mark,
Right.
right? So you can go around it, but you can't. You can go in it,
Hmm.
but you have to go back out the way you went in because it's not 300. It's not open all the way around. It's only open in areas,
Hmm. Hmm.
and they was using that to traverse. That's where Admiral Byrd when he went.
Hmm.
He was able to see it and go around it.
Hmm. Hmm. So
You
who
know,
who controls this area, Antarctica? Like the Chinese, the U.S., like who's in control of this gateway that you could go in and out the Earth and all of that? Who controls this?
those are it's under control of the Atlanteans and Anunnaki right now.
Hmm.
The Galactic Council had the Earth Council had delegates. Did you see Thor?
Yeah, yeah,
You remember when a man was waiting for somebody to come through and he had that axe?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that was his job.
Mm-hmm.
That portal right there was his.
Mm.
And so this is why when you see them going to Asgard, they
Mm-hmm.
going across this ice rainbow.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the ice wall in Antarctica.
That's comparable to the ice wall in Antarctica.
Right.
Damn.
So once you get to Asgard, you have to stop at the gate and then you have to meet this guy.
Yeah.
Well, he ain't our size.
Right.
And his psychic abilities is amazing.
Does he have a name?
Um I don't know which one of the names he's under now, but they all of the Guardians got a name, but they supposed to be kept sacred.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't tell you their name because they don't move from their post.
Mm. Mm.
So you got guardians around you too.
Mm.
Every one of us got a guardian that walk with us. And when you ever get in a crisis and you hear that voice tell you, run down the alley, don't go in the street.
Mm.
That's that guardian be talking to you.
Mm.
Crowley called it your holy guardian angel.
Mm.
But really what it is your higher self. And because we the angels, we just
Mm.
don't know it.
Mm. Mm.
When we start to remember from our higher self will tell us who he is.
Mm.
Right? And that's what they call waking up, becoming conscious and sentient or your God form.
Mm-hmm.
Your God form is not your physical form, right? But you manifest in the creation as you moving with the power of your mind and others like you. The three-dimensional matrix is made up like a Merkaba in Metatron's cube,
You
right?
mean Earth itself is made up like that?
The energy grid
The energy grid.
that
Okay.
is built on,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? So you can see it when your mind when you astral travel and you go in fourth or fifth dimensions, you can see it
Mm-hmm.
from the outside. You can look in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's where your God form is projecting into your human form from,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you basically telepathically being you on Earth from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the energy that generates your sense of self, your I-ness, your I am factor,
Mm-hmm.
right? The thing that we supposed to be doing on earth is called purifying the ego to facilitate the higher soul,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if we got a corrupted ego, then the higher soul won't assimilate.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go do it all over again in a time loop,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? And when you go through the time loop, you come up on another timeline where you're successful eventually,
Right. Right.
right? So you might have to murder yourself in three different timelines before you get to the one where you win your game, the
Mm-hmm.
game of life,
Mm-hmm.
where you the one because you chose you. That's
As
it.
we as we incarnate in this realm, this 3D realm, sometimes do we incarnate in the other, in that realm,
Any
beyond Antarctica, and then we come back here, then we come and we like exchange information from our
look,
life experiences over here.
that's what you're doing when you're dreaming at night. Use information exchange,
Mm,
right? You giving yourself a report from other timelines.
right, right, okay.
But can't nobody tell you what the report is but you,
But you, mm,
right? Because you have to become sentient enough to know where you at all times. The point of focus is where you at.
the point of focus, yeah.
You aware right now that we in this conversation through a YouTube channel. That's where our point of focus is.
Mm-hmm,
Or else we couldn't carry on this conversation.
mm-hmm,
And that's where our apparent I-ness is resting up on the pivot point
mm-hmm,
of the point of focus.
mm-hmm,
Right? So everything is converging onto you as the one. In everybody reality, they the one.
mm-hmm,
Unless they don't choose theyself. That's why they say, man, know thyself.
mm-hmm,
Once you know yourself, you choose yourself.
right,
Because then you can say what you will and will not tolerate, and then you will understand what you want and what you don't want versus what they told you want versus what they told you do want.
mm-hmm,
Right? So you got to learn yourself in order to know if you're thinking for yourself.
mm-hmm,
Right? So if a person accuses you of something, you wondering if you well maybe I got drunk or something. But wait a minute, I don't drink.
mm-hmm,
That's not my character. That shit don't match. You lying.
mm-hmm,
And we can teach our children that at an earlier age now.
mm-hmm,
They perceive it because they coming in on a higher frequency in the sun cycle,
mm-hmm,
right? The sun cycle brings in more solar radiation, right? And the solar radiation is what generates the messages to the pineal. And you download them as consciousness and spirit messages,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Let me ask you, these beings from that exists in this other realm beyond the ice wall, do they ever why aren't they interfering in earthly affairs? Like we look at the state of the world and we look at, you know, the Europeans and everybody, you know, whoever's doing whatever they doing, oppressing the world with however they doing it. Do these beings, are they restricted from interfering with the affairs that's going on over here, or do
They
they
can,
want?
they
Are
can
they?
they can only move according to the level of consciousness of the collective.
Okay,
They can't do anything that will upset the level of consciousness of the collective.
because we have free will. That's what.
Bro, yep.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it's only free will if you use it.
Mm,
Otherwise, you're on a predestined path. That's what makes you a slave to the system. Because the system understand that if you don't use your free will, it's available.
mm-hmm,
Using the law of use, right?
mm-hmm,
If I understand the law of use, say if it's not being used, use it because it's useful for no other reason. So under the law of use, they come in and they use your free will that you're not using and they attach it to their desires, and your free will manifests their reality of opulence. You creating from within yourself to benefit somebody outside yourself before you benefit yourself because you don't want to use your free will. Everybody want to be servants. Don't nobody want to. They want to
right.
claim they're a boss, but they don't want to do what the boss do.
Mm-hmm,
But they don't want to be the boss.
mm-hmm,
They want to be bossy,
mm,
right?
mm,
Tell you what you should or should not do.
right.
They want to be self-righteous to the point where they don't care about what you going through, what you dealing with. I called you, you supposed to answer me.
Mm-hmm,
But they don't know nothing about your life. They don't know what you doing. No. They get in their feelings and they feel some type of way because they feel you supposed to respond to them out of a superiority complex.
mm-hmm,
And so
so.
they start pointing the fingers.
Mm-hmm,
Well, he ain't doing this and he a fake and he a fraud. No receipts, just allegations,
right, right.
right? Fairkind sold out a long time ago. The only one been talking up for us.
Mm-hmm,
But they ain't doing it. But they'll cut him down because they don't think he doing it how they supposed to. But they ain't doing shit.
mm-hmm,
You know, they
mm-hmm,
they ride with the system against their own people because the system said they was criminals. A criminal system called our people criminals, and you went with it. You sold out without getting nothing.
mm-hmm,
Don't even know you sold out. That's the sad part. Because you're not smart enough to know you sold out
mm,
for nothing, for free.
mm.
On some go along to get along
Get
shit.
along. Yeah, yeah. I seen an interesting comment in the chat. Somebody said the ice walls is the final boss. If we say this is a video game, a simulation, you know how you used to play Street Fighter, and the final boss was I think I forgot his name, and Bison. Like it's getting beyond the ice wall. Is that the final boss in this video game? Then we get to the other, you know, outer space and everything. That's the real entrance to the, you know.
When you read in the book of Enoch, it tell you that the big hairy beast was chained up in Tartarus.
Hmm.
The big hairy beast is Marduk.
Hmm.
In the Sumerian tablets, they said he died and they called him Enkidu,
Hmm.
right? The Bua man,
Hmm.
the hairy man,
Hmm.
who was best friends with Gilgamesh,
Hmm.
right? And they was on the tear together.
Hmm.
But they couldn't kill Enkidu. But they told Gilgamesh he was dead.
Hmm.
when they chain him up. So this is Marduk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's two Marduks. One of them is Enki's son, one is Enlil's son. Enlil's son is the one they call Enkidu,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because he was told when he got to Earth, when he said, "What am I supposed to do?" and they told him, "Do what Enki do."
Mm-hmm.
So when he got here and they asked him his name, he said Enkidu.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a joke between the Anunnaki to call him Enkidu, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now he is what you call a Bigfoot,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Enlil's daughter by those group of people. In Star Trek, he would have been Chewbacca.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, that's who he is. They tell you the story in the fiction in order to make it absurd when you tell them the real story,
Right, right.
right? But when you read in the book of Enoch, it's going to talk about the hairy giant tied up in Tartarus. And Tartarus is the um, South American plateau,
Mm-hmm.
that landmass down there
Mm-hmm.
under the ice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if got flash froze over, they still there, right? And some of them down there can telepathically communicate with some of us here.
Mm-hmm.
So they able to give us messages from the past that will help us solve the problems of the present because they already went through it.
Right.
So it's like they shine a mirror on the past in order to tell us how to navigate the future without making the mistakes they made.
Is it possible that me and you might be over there flash frozen right now? We're projecting these holograms over here to understand how to free ourselves over there right now, being
That
flash
would be
frozen.
walk-ins at that point.
That was what?
That would be a walk-in.
Mm-hmm.
So the reason they got is laws in the universe. The
Mm-hmm.
laws of walk-in is this:
Mm-hmm.
you have to fully give up on your life and your ability to figure out why you here and who you are, and you don't want to play the game no more.
Mm-hmm.
This is a high spiritual thing. So then all your memories is still recorded in the synapses in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now the walk-in can do two things. They can choose to use your physical form. They'll read your book of life, which is in your DNA,
Mm-hmm.
and they will determine if they can complete the task that you was originally sent to do.
Mm-hmm.
You gave yourself that mission.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't complete it. The walk-in, which would be one of those, they would get in like a substitute player on a video game,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll finish the path that you laid out for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Mm-hmm.
now where we at is we recovering ancient technology to move into what they call the forever time. That means a time where time doesn't matter anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? What time is it that time doesn't matter anymore? When there's no more death, right? In order to undercut the death, you have to figure out the cause of natural death. And then you have to bridge the gap in order to repair that damage that was done to the DNA that caused you to experience a natural death in the timely decay of the form.
Indeed, indeed. This is man. Listen, man. They're going crazy in the chat room right now. I want to give you an opportunity to ask some questions. We're about to get to Q&A, family. I want to thank everybody for tuning in, watching. We got a packed chat room. I think we got about 2,600 people in the chat right now. Family, make sure get your questions ready. I'm gonna take some questions from y'all because I see y'all got a lot to talk about in the chat room. So get your questions ready. Man, oh, there's some interesting stuff here, man. There's some interesting stuff here. Let's get to Before I get to the Q&A from the people, Rod, you know, I heard somewhere that the netherworld that our ancestors talk about and we hear talked about in the text is really under the ocean. Now we're so concerned about going into outer space, but we rarely under the depths of the ocean is rarely explored. So can you talk to me? You know, they had a fake video of a mermaid surfacing from the waters of South Africa, and that got a lot of people talking the other day. What's going on in the depths of the ocean, my brother? What's down there?
It's some creatures down there that's just grotesque. I mean, it's a different living environment
Mm,
altogether. When you start getting into that high pressure,
mm,
low light scenario, bioluminescence become required in order to navigate down there. But it also makes you uh, a viable predator or prey.
mm,
Like you have one fish called a anglerfish.
mm,
He got a bioluminescent thing on the tender, look like a worm. He be doing this on his hat.
mm,
And when the fish come to get it, he eat them.
mm,
Right. But then you have certain species of squid um, that have like sparkling lights rolling up and down um, they tentacles and stuff from
mm,
bioluminescence.
mm,
So it's just a different environment altogether from what's up here. And they do have deep sea humanoids that live down there too.
mm.
That's they breathe underwater like we breathe in the air.
So like Aquaman isn't far fetched when you know like Marvel got
No,
no.
it's not far fetched at all.
Mm,
They think that Atlantis used to do business with them,
mm,
and they used to do rescues on the bottom of the oceans until war broke out on the surface. They went deeper.
mm,
They
mm,
didn't want no parts of it, and they wanted to be left out of it.
mm,
The same with it, some people that was on the ground that went under the earth into the caverns and catacombs
mm,
and set up whole communities down there and don't come up no more.
mm,
Right? They done it because they didn't want to take part in the wars that was going on the earth. There was Anunnaki wars, sibling rivalries.
mm,
That's why they all these stories got brothers going against each other.
mm,
That's because the whole system is built up on a sibling rivalry between two competing gods that's trying to fight for superiority, and in the process, they subjugating their own children out of their ego. Right? So you got Enki and Enlil. Enki was here first. Enlil don't care. He figured that he should have he's superior rank, so he should be able to run the show. And he gonna get jealous and kick your ass if you don't worship me, cause I'm the only one.
mm. Oh man. Let's get to some Q&A from the people real quick. Hmm. Is the confusion that took place by the division of the languages coming to an end since almost the whole world now speaks English, minus discrepancies from spells contained in English?
English is not gonna be the language. It's the language of deception, right? They they can translate from five different languages into one English word that mean all five of those things simultaneously, and they all mean something different,
Mm-hmm.
right? But the English is the only language where you can use that to deceive somebody. So it's actually the mirror language of what the next language is going to be. The children are going to be learning an entirely different language.
Mm-hmm. Somebody wants to know, Axe, is Gilgamesh frozen and coming back alive?
Gilgamesh is going to be reborn. He's one of the gods, one of the sons of the gods. That's one of Enki's sons.
Mm-hmm. Okay, next question. I've been having dreams of the pyramid in Antarctica. What would be your take on that? Pyramids in Antarctica, my brother. What's your take on that?
Pyramids down there, absolutely. It's a huge pyramid down there. It's one down there that might be bigger than the one in Mexico.
Mm. And what civilization built this one?
That's ancient Atlantean.
Ancient Atlantean.
Ancient mound builders. They built all these motherfuckers. Wherever you see one that, they built them.
Hmm. After we did the show last time, there was a lot of people who are still confused about the whole topic of Anunnaki. They still ask, so maybe you clear up the confusion. They're like, are they good or bad? People want to know the Anunnaki. Are they good entities or are they bad entities? So
Both.
can you answer that both? Yeah. Hmm.
So they, the Anunnaki is families that's intermarried from across galaxies to different bloodlines. So you got some of them that see us as food. You got some of them that see us as next to God,
Mm.
right? And it depends on what side of the family you bump into, how you gonna get treated.
Right. Right. Mm.
Some of them jealous of us and feel like we spoiled brats. On
Mm.
no matter what we going through on Earth, the ability to be in the freedom of Earth, they jealous of that,
Hmm.
right? And some of them,
So Earth has a freedom to it, huh?
yeah. If you know how to be free on Earth, this is the best place to be in the universe. Where
That's
that's
a
an
big statement.
yeah. Most of us don't know how to be free. We know how to be slaves because that's all we taught.
Hold up. We gotta rewind that. You said if you know how to be free on Earth, this is the best place in the universe. Elaborate on that a little bit, my brother.
Earth used to be a resort,
Woohoo! A resort. Oh
right?
shit.
Then it went from being a resort, it was
Uh
converted into a university
uh-huh.
because the people that was natural here
Mm-hmm.
was so advanced beyond other civilizations.
Mm-hmm.
So they was sending people here to train and learn. It was a
Mm-hmm.
university.
Mm-hmm.
Then the bad kids came, the bullies,
Mm-hmm.
whole family of bullies came and bullied the teachers out their positions.
Mm-hmm.
So now Big Mama's and her other boys, the big boys coming home now. My
Mm-hmm.
sons. They coming home to put the new world in order. Right? They wanted a new world order under George Herbert Walker Bush
Mm-hmm.
and 1,000 points of light. Bullshit. Not why the chiefs on the land you not,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know everything they was doing. They was doing it out in the open, but most of us couldn't see it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they good at what they do. They do the dirt and then they paint the picture how they want you to see it.
Right, right, right. Somebody wants to know who are the Nordic giants.
Those were they are Pleiadian bloodlines of Earth. The it's a dude be doing videos. He don't got no eyebrows. He got straight blonde hair. He one of them.
Mm.
They not giants no more from mixing with other groups, other bloodlines of Earth. But they still can be pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, I don't see it. Somebody asked, I seen it a little earlier. They said, what does our melanin have to do with all of this? How is our melanin tied in to all of this that we're talking about right now?
Ooh, melanin is a big deal because the melanin is tied to that dark stuff called noon. It's black matter, dark matter,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's through there in which the creation manifests. Remember, I told you it's a collection of gods generating this from their mind in real time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what they seeing in their mind is molding the future. The
Mm-hmm.
melanin is the energy that they draw from to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the more heavily melanated is, the more creative potential you have. But they teach us not to use it.
Mm-hmm.
They relegate our creativity to painting, music, and dance.
Mm-hmm.
But we are just equally as artistic in physics, quantum physics, and metaphysics.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it seemed like we can't reach higher than a certain level in a school system. Is that their school system can't teach us anything. They can't stimulate our brain cells to respond to higher thought of creativity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now we can't create consciously. Now we have to do it subconsciously, meaning we not consciously aware of what we're creating
Mm-hmm.
because we don't know how. We're not using our free will. So the system is designed to harness the free will that the people not using and use it for the advantage of the ones who know how to harvest it.
Mm-hmm.
Vampires.
Mm.
They energy vampires though.
Somebody wants to know, can Rod talk about the Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse supernova and the effects on humans?
Any of those um novas, depending on the distance,
Mm-hmm.
right? It depends on the effect and when the effect will be seen. If it's close enough, the effect can be seen in a matter of a couple of years. But if it's not, if it's a distant star that became a supernova, it won't be able to be seen for some time to come. It might be generations before it ever get here.
Okay. Can you please ask Rod about what he thinks is next for humanity? How far will we get in this time frame for seeing what is to come? Like, will we see beings like an X-Men in real life? Have we already?
All you got to do is look a little closer because you got humans that's capable of doing some phenomenal shit. But we just don't realize that that's untapped potential. And if the potential is untapped, there's a possibility it can be tapped if you understand how it works. But
Will
as far as for what's next for us, it's depending on what we wake up to at this time, depends on what's going to be next. It's still mutable at this point.
still mutable, right? That goes into what you said earlier about this realm being an observer. What did you say? Observer what? As
Which
far
is
as what we observe, we have the ability to change.
right. That's creativity in action. The observer effect.
Observer effect, yeah, yeah.
All right. So you have to look up the double slit experiment with the electrons and it'll show you how it works. Because that which is undetermined, which is mutable, is just a wave. It's just a field of energy. But once you make up your mind that it's going to happen, it becomes a particle. It becomes a proton.
Hmm. Will America be split in half when the ice walls melt down?
I don't know, but it's a possibility that the Grand Canyon can fill back up.
You said the Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
When you say fill back up, what did it used to be?
So those were rivers. That was an ancient water system.
For who?
It was natural water system. What we did is you don't. It's a couple people that know about the artifacts and the stuff that's in the Grand Canyon that's Egyptian and Buddhist in appearance.
Hmm.
Right. That's our shit from a long time ago.
Hmm.
Right. And it was like living in Venice, Italy, on the water. But when the waters dried up, the people moved out.
Mm.
And the waters gradually dried up and the people gradually spread out to other parts of the land.
Mm. Interesting. Um, This brother wants to know, is Nibiru here? Also, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke of the original people being from Mars. Can you elaborate?
That's where the human creation took place on Mars in the Sedona complex, where you see the face of Adam. Dr. York put that out a long time ago, so that's like old news to us. But Nibiru is it's pretty goddamn close. And if they stop spraying the skies, y'all might be able to see it. What's the next question? So I can't see the chat.
Yeah, pardon me, family. Sorry about that. Uh, Brother Rod, why do they abduct and take white people?
Monitoring genetics. They don't just abduct and take them. That's only the ones they report. Most of us don't have to be abducted. We can go to them.
Mm-hmm.
The ones of us that's capable. And we normally, they a lot of us get abducted in the motherland. But in America and Europe, most of the abductions is the European. Um, they're just monitoring genetics. They came to get a drop of blood from us over here in America.
Mm-hmm.
They got it.
Mm.
And
What's this? Yeah, good.
the ones who didn't won't be here.
What's the significance of the crystal skulls?
Those are computers. They computer hard drives from ancient computer systems.
Mm-hmm. Hard drives.
Yeah,
Okay.
they store they. Okay, you know what a terabyte is, right?
Yeah.
Multiply that by a couple of million, and then you will know how much information that skull can hold.
Wow. Shit.
It's a whole supercomputer's worth of information in that crystal.
Mm.
But you need the right computer mainframe in order to read it. It's in Tibet.
The computer mainframe is in Tibet.
Yeah. The only one that's still functional is in Tibet. There used to be one in Egypt. It used to be one in Mexico. It used to be one in Argentina. The
Mm.
only one that's still functional is in Tibet.
Wow. I'm loving these questions. This is where we need to be at, family. This is where we're progressing. I love these questions. And the brothers knocking them down. The 2024 eclipse. What, if any, effects will it have on Earth?
All of the eclipses changes the energy frequency on the planet.
Mm.
So it'll always, but it's not gonna never be more than what you've experienced in prior eclipses,
Okay.
right? The energy frequency might hit a little different because of the stellar position, the position of the stars,
Mm.
the time of year, but generally, the eclipses don't have major negative effects on the planet.
Mm. What's the mothership?
The mothership is actually a humongous spaceship that's it's like a commuter ship from Nibiru to Earth when they in close proximity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fucking huge.
Mm.
It's bigger than the Enterprise of Star Trek.
Yeah. Wow. Well, let's get to the next question. Why did the leaders of the world financial system meet in Antarctica a few months ago?
You
Do you
know,
know?
they actually got turned away.
They got turned away by who?
The Earth Council and the
Uh-uh.
Galactic Council have a delegation down there, and
Uh-huh.
they was asking to speak to Larry Hoover, Angel Bay, and Stan Tukey Williams. And the first time they tried to send the politicians down there, and they told them that y'all not the real leaders, y'all need to kick rocks.
Mm,
So the second time they tried to send the leaders from business and economics down there.
mm.
because they was trying to establish the leadership of Earth under the corporations as an oligarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So it was three systems that we was faced against. The one was a techocracy where the artificial intelligence and the biorhythms is the order of the day.
Mm-hmm.
The other one was a oligarchy ran by major corporations and corporate interests.
Mm-hmm.
And the third one was a dictatorship under George Herbert Walker Bush called the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we didn't want none of that shit.
Mm-hmm.
So one of us had to prove that the original training method for our children worked better than all that shit in creating a better person. Somebody who would stand up for all of the people that don't know how to stand up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
The one that'll punch the bully in the nose and make that motherfucker get in line.
Mm-hmm.
That motherfucker, right? And he had to be able to assimilate the technology and master it to the point where he can disrupt their algorithms. That was to kill the techocracy.
Mm-hmm.
So he had to go one on one with artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence had to not be able to keep up,
Wow.
right? So that killed the Bill Gates community techocracy.
Mm-hmm.
So they couldn't send nobody.
Right.
The oligarchy was the financial bankers of the world and the corporate interests, the
Mm-hmm.
major companies.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we believe our people believe that the people who work for the company own the company. We don't believe that you supposed to own a company and only give me crumbs for me making you rich.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that if it's a company, that everybody at the company is part of the company,
Mm-hmm.
and that the human that work at the company is more valuable than any other machinery there. That's how we believe.
Mm-hmm.
They believe under their corporate structure, people are just as expendable as the tools on the floor, right? So we needed to change the workers' condition. That's what they called the worker rebellion,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the workers had to pick somebody to represent the unionized interests of the collective of workers.
Mm-hmm.
And then they had to go and find out what's the solution to the workers' struggle
Mm-hmm.
and then fix that. That kills um, the business or the corporate interest from being able to abuse the little guy,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the cost of living per capita in any country determines what they call the minimum standard of living, right? The corporations give you just enough money to maintain the minimum standard of living. But once you unionize, organize, and establish that you just as important as the company is, now the company have to negotiate your value according to what you put on it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how we killed the corporate interest,
Mm-hmm.
using the auto workers as what you call the model.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now we faced with the political interest. The remnant of the Bush administration was Joe Biden. He was part of the chase for Osama bin Laden, and the people finally caught Obama Joe Biden on a subjugation of the mind. They slid that one in there. See, for 8 years they was looking for Osama bin Laden. So when Obama Joe Biden was the running ticket, the homonym is too familiar to overlook. So they use reverse psychology to turn it around on the people. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how we overcame the systems that they was trying to say was superior than tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
In tribalism, the person that's best qualified to do the job, perform the function, and that's all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not personal, family business. We got to work together as a family. That's tribalism.
Mm, mm.
That's what Cuba was establishing,
Right, right.
right? And they had to first find three kings before they could raise the matriarchy, but they killed two of the kings.
Mm,
Camilo Cienfuego, long
mm,
live Camilo, and Che Guevara.
mm,
And then they left the spokesperson, which was the politician, which was Fidel Castro,
mm,
right? So when the CIA shot the plane down that Camilo was in, and Che went to go free Bolivia, got killed in Venezuela, I believe it was, fighting the freedom for the freedom fighters down there. That made it where they couldn't raise matriarchy in Cuba, so now they have to adapt a structure
mm,
to where they stopped that.
mm.
Cuba was under embargo for over 50 years. Think about that. You can't do no world trade, so whatever you do had to be from self-contained. So what did they do? Start training doctors and mechanics. They could take those old cars together and put them back apart like it's nothing. They've been living off those same cars from the 50s for 50 years,
Mm.
right? Because they couldn't get no new ones in.
Right.
And then you have the people. See, they had to get rid of Batista. He was an animal, right? So they followed the formula to overthrow the government based on the principles of the three kings on the land.
Mm. Question. Okay, Rod, can you break down the significance of CMEs?
Coronal mass ejections is solar flares ejected from the sun,
Mm,
and they have a direct electromagnetic effect on the earth and the people, right? So as we moving through this part of the universe, it's like other stuff going on besides just that, right? So
mm,
when this is going on, you got other stuff going on too. All this energy is creating a vortex of energy,
mm,
right? And we responding to it in real time, and we adapting our creation of tomorrow in real time based on the energy frequency.
mm,
The more of us become aware, that's why we say each one teach one, we all might reach some.
mm,
The more of us become aware of what we're supposed to be seeing on the land in order to restore the matriarchy,
mm,
right? Because the matriarchy is the original form of government of Earth. And you don't know, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. At the close of the age, when we start looking for the three kings on the land, it's because we have to restore it back to its original position of purity. We
mm,
have to raise the woman back up to her God status, but we have to make sure that the woman is worthy to hold that status.
mm.
The highest ranking matriarch on the land right now is Mother Khadijah.
Mother
By
Khadijah.
work,
Okay.
yeah, by work and by suffering, because she's been struggling in this struggle right along with the minister for over 50 years,
Mm,
probably 60 something, if you really
mm,
want to get technical.
mm,
But she's an instrument of the struggle, and she have the most active matriarchs is active in their
mm.
families and keeping their families together under her direct call. Like she can pick up her phone and call them personally,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So she have the most matriarchs on the land under her jurisdiction. The Nation of Islam is not part of the corporate United States. And they are a tribe that was established by Clara Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad. And the tribe had to be set up a certain way because of infiltrators that look like us, but they not us. So now when we start getting the people's mind to understand that we the ones that's being usurped.
Mm,
We them red people that Jacob
mm,
pretended to be when he was stealing his birthright from Isaac.
Mm.
right? And he was covered up by a woman who took sides, one child against the other,
Mm-hmm.
in order that this shit play out in the genetic memory. These are the clues for us to unravel the mystery.
Mm-hmm.
We are the ones who are organic to the Americas. The law of the land say that the one who becomes aware vexed the grievance in the public domain. This is why it seems like we always complaining in the open, because we is.
Mm-hmm.
Those who understand the problem based off the grievance vex that finds a solution is obligated by tribal law to offer up the solution, right? And it's up to the collective of the clans people to support the leadership when they understand what's taking place on the land. They automatically line up to push the agenda for freedom.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to do it if they don't see the solution, the problem, the perpetrators.
Mm-hmm.
They have to see everything involved. And then you have to offer a solution. Because if you don't have a solution and you present a problem, you frustrate the people.
Right, right, right.
Right? So the solution is a universal understanding, everybody on the same page saying we need to see Larry Hoover walking on the land.
Mm.
Because it's a whole script of things entailed with us demanding to see Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover is the prerequisite for the raising of the matriarchy,
Mm.
right? He
Mm.
is the chairman or the spokesperson for the collective chiefs across the land.
Mm-hmm.
And Angel Bay is his witness from Chicago. Big Tukey is witness from the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They have to tell the people the problem, who was doing the dirt on the land,
Mm-hmm.
and that they got it under control now. And Mama gonna be safe to take her position,
Mm.
right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
was at war.
Mm.
Well, all that shit got to come to an end now.
Mm.
So the next thing to fall is their banking system.
Hmm. Hmm. Let's get to the next question. Please ask Rod, is our inner sun the transmuter that will seal the reset or awakening?
Your inner sun is your heart chakra that runs off mitochondrial generated love energy,
Mm. Mm.
right? And it's there to illuminate your body with wisdom when it reaches the brain, the frequency.
Mm.
It comes in through the heart chakra.
Mm.
But if you don't raise past your lower three chakras, then you can't tap into it.
Mm.
The it's affected electromagnetically from the coronal mass ejections, from what we call stellar ejections, the energy being other stars doing the same thing in a different distance, right? Because the coronal mass ejections is not the only electromagnetic energy that's impacting the Earth. This is why you have zodiac signs to read what electromagnetic field was you born under, determines a lot about how to teach you, how to
Mm.
educate you,
Mm.
how to teach you to tune in to the self, who you were in your past life, and etc.